Hi, I'm Donald McIntyre, founder of Etherplan. This is my Ethereum Classic price prediction update. Disclaimer, I work for the ETC Cooperative. I am senior editor there, and we write articles and produce videos every week, 6 per week, about Ethereum Classic for the ethereumclassic.org website and the etccooperative.org website. I write and produce videos with opinions and explaining everything about Ethereum Classic, educational content, tutorials, reviews, opinions, analysis, news analysis, responses to other publications. And ethereumclassic.org is the community website where we contribute as a donation to the community, and the ETC Cooperative is the ETC Cooperative's website. The ETC Cooperative is a non-profit organization that supports Ethereum Classic in general with infrastructure, communications, events, and other activities. So, because I am the founder of Etherplan and this video is for Etherplan, my opinions are different than the ETC Cooperative. This is my personal opinion. And for Etherplan, the ETC Cooperative does not talk about price as a policy. So this has nothing to do with the ETC Cooperative. It's not endorsed. It's just my private blog, etherplan.com, and my YouTube channel. And this is where I do my price predictions and do other kinds of research. So that's the disclaimer. This has nothing to do with the ETC Cooperative. This is purely Etherplan and my personal opinion. And of course, these price predictions are not investment advice. I don't perceive any income from this. It's just my personal opinion about ETC. I am an ETC supporter, and I have been a volunteer for ETC since 2018. And I started to work at the ETC Cooperative in November of 2021. So this price prediction of Ethereum Classic, this is the summary. This is the last part of this video. It's this commentary or price prediction or analysis is divided in 4 parts. First, the fundamental analysis of ETC, the fundamentals, the basic assumptions are the same. So that's the first section. The second section is going to be about the Bitcoin and ETC discounts in their supplies, that they are called the Bitcoin halving and the ETC fifthening, and they're going to happen in March or April of next year, very close in time, practically in the same month. And then the third section is going to be the analysis of the macro situation in the world with Western nations and advanced superpowers with enormous deficits, printing money, inflation, and how they're trapped in this situation, and they're gonna keep printing money forever. And then the fourth is this analysis of the specific projections that I'm going to explain at the end. So let's start with the first section, which is the basic assumptions and why ETC has such strong fundamentals. The first assumption is that Bitcoin is digital gold, it is truly decentralized, and it is programmable. Those 3 things combined are the secret sauce of ETC. Proof of work provides true decentralization because all the nodes and all the computers around the world that run the ETC software and are part of the peer-to-peer network or the blockchain, whether they are miners or mining pools, or whether they are verifying nodes or economic nodes, they can enter and leave the network and come again whenever they wish, just by having an internet connection. And that's a level of freedom, permissionlessness, and censorship resistant that proof-of-stake blockchains do not have. Proof-of-stake blockchains are trapped by the stakers. They are inside the ledger, inside the digital world, because the stakers are basically deposits inside the network. And they tend, because of economies of scale, they tend to centralize and create huge stakers and staking pools. That together, those few stakers that are inside the network, therefore they have the network trapped, they, together with the foundation, for example in Ethereum, and the developers, they can control the whole system. In the case of proof of work blockchains, just with the proof of work, every block in Bitcoin, in Ethereum Classic, in Litecoin, in Dogecoin, in Monero, for example, the proof of work, the hash for each block is the sufficient information for anyone in the world to know which is the latest correct block, and therefore which is the correct blockchain. And they don't need to check with websites or other peers or friends to see which is the correct blockchain, because proof of work provides the information where any computer around the world receives the block. And if they receive imposter blocks, it doesn't matter, because the imposters are never going to have the computing power to create a proof of work that is so powerful or strong as the one that they receive from the true miners. But just by verifying the proof of work and verifying that the work was done, is very easy for all for any computer who wants to participate to know which is the latest block, and therefore which is the correct chain. Proof of stake doesn't have this guarantee because there's no work done. So if you are a node and you're receiving imposter chains, it is practically impossible to know for you which is the correct one, because there's nothing to verify. And this is why it's a more subjective system, and you need to check with others to see which is the correct, and that is already introduces trust, and these blockchains are supposed to be trust minimized. Also, this thing that the stakers are inside the network, in contrast, in proof of work, the miners who produce blocks are outside of the network. They transform energy into blocks inside. So they import something in the physical world, which is high levels of energy, and they transform it into a digital good, which is the proof of work. The hash and the block is a transformation of energy in the physical world into value in the digital world. And the miners are external. So when you have a situation like in Ethereum and ETC in 2016, that both networks were one and then they separated, then some miners can go to this blockchain, some miners could go to this blockchain, and they just continue. And they truly separate, and they can have different philosophies, different rules, different things like that. When you have a proof of work, a proof of stake blockchain like Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, Polkadot, Avalanche, all those are centralized systems. And you cannot split and separate from a tyranny, for example, that may form between the foundations that controls these systems, the developers, and the stakers that are going to be huge stakers, very few huge pools and stakers, very likely banks in the near future. And if you have one blockchain, for example, now say Cardano or Ethereum proof of stake or Polkadot or Avalanche, and you separate, you basically replicated the stakers in both networks. So you have the same stakers in both networks. So you don't get rid of the tyranny or the centralization of the system, and you can split 100 times, and in the 100 copies, in the 100 splits that you do, you're going to have the same stakers, and it's impossible to get rid of them. They are totally centralized systems. On top of that, they have economies of scale. They don't have any frictional costs or anything like that proof of work has. So staking is much more centralized than mining. Mining has never been centralized. Anyone in the world can join and leave, and in their complete isolation in proof of work, just by receiving the block, they know which is the correct block, and they know which is the correct chain. So there's total freedom and permissionlessness and censorship resistance to enter and leave the network. This is the root of what causes enables decentralization, that anybody can join and leave. In proof of stake, you're stuck there, It's the same stakers which basically crystallize inside the blockchain, and there's no way of knowing if you're an outsider of which is the correct chain unless you check with a friend or in a website, and that's already trusting something, and these systems are supposed to be trust minimized. The cap supply turns, that's another difference between proof of stake and proof of work. Proof of work blockchains are truly digital gold, because proof of work blockchains like ETC, to print or to create new ETC per block, which is the reward to miners, the only way to do it is if the miners do all the work. And that's very similar to the real world. In the real world, the only way to produce an ounce of gold, for example, is to actually mine it, and requires a lot of capital deployed, a lot of expenditure of work and energy to produce gold. And this is why gold is scarce and valuable. And exactly the same with proof of work blockchains. Only after you do a lot of work and expend a lot of electricity and energy, you can produce a block, and only then you get paid. This is why ETC and Bitcoin are scarce and valuable as well. Proof of stake, they just print money and there's no work done. So they just create money like fiat money. This is why I call proof of stake money and those coins, I call them fiat community money or community fiat money instead of government fiat money. Because they just print the money out of thin air, and also they can get together because it's a centralized system, and they can reverse the chain, they can change blocks, they can do whatever they wish just by making decisions between themselves. And proof of work, it's impossible to change the blockchain because you have to do the whole work again. So the guarantees of proof of work are enormous, are hundreds of times more than proof of stake, and proof of stake is centralized. And then it's programmable. Ethereum Classic is within the top 5. Ethereum Classic is within the top 5 largest proof of work blockchains in the world. It's Bitcoin, Doge, Litecoin, ETC, and Monero. ETC is actually the 4th one, but those 5 are the top 5, and for me the only valuable blockchains in the world. And because it's programmable, of the top 5 proof of work blockchains, ETC is the largest smart contracts blockchain in the world. So as a proof of work, digital gold and programmable blockchain, it's the biggest one, ETC, and it's the leader in the world. This is an incredibly valuable position when the world realizes that Ethereum proof of stake, Cardano, Polkadot, Binance Chain, Avalanche, Cosmos, all those Tezos, all of those blockchains are basically worthless because they are exactly the same as having government money, and because they are exactly the same as having your apps in a cloud service like Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Cloud or Google Cloud or something like that, because they can be censored and cancelled and confiscated by the centralized powers that control these networks. When the world realizes this, and they're going to be turned, because of these reasons, because of this centralization, they're going to be classified as securities, and many of them are going to be outright prohibited in many countries and in many places. When the world realizes this, that the contrast in security and truth of decentralization that proof of work is as compared to proof of stake, then all the proof of work blockchains are going to go up, including ETC, and I do some projections here. ETC, another fundamental thing. So the first is proof of work, cap supply, and programmability. The other fundamental thing that ETC has is, because it's proof of work with Bitcoin, with Litecoin, for example, and it's programmable, it's going to be a huge base layer blockchain. The blockchain industry is going to be organized in layers. Today already is already happening. Bitcoin, for example, is connected to Ethereum, so you have wrapped Bitcoin inside Ethereum. So there's dApps inside Ethereum that use Bitcoin through a connection. So Bitcoin is a base layer, Ethereum is a higher layer. And then you have channels and roll-ups that are going to increase scalability for Ethereum. So you're going to have an application here that is going to do things in Ethereum, that is going to do things in Bitcoin. So this means that the industry slowly is going to organize in layers, and those layers are going to be organized by security levels. So you're going to have the base layer are going to be the most secure but less scalable blockchains. Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic are going to be the two big ones there, because Bitcoin is digital gold, is the original one, and Ethereum Classic is the same, it's digital gold, but it's also programmable. So it's much more valuable in that sense. And those are going to be the settlement layers, and where the large values of money are going to happen. In the case of ETC, you're going to also have decentralized applications that are going to manage large volumes or large transactions with a lot of value. And then you're going to have the proof of stake blockchains that maybe they're going to be 1 or 2 or 3 blockchains there, like Ethereum, Binance Chain, and I don't know, Polkadot or Solana. And these are going to be much less secure. So the applications here, but more scalable. The applications here are going to manage higher volumes, but they're going to settle in Bitcoin, ETC, and Litecoin. I think that ETC is going to be larger than Litecoin. It's going to be only the second one to Bitcoin. ETC is going to be bigger than all the rest, because Litecoin doesn't have any value, or Doge or Monero other, because they're not programmable. Monero will probably be bigger than Litecoin, because Monero has a difference, which is a privacy coin. So you're going to have this base layer. The layer 2 is going to be proof of stake blockchains, and then above them systems that are going to be even more scalable, like roll-ups and channels. And then on top of them, you're going to have the dApps and wallets like MetaMask, Trust Wallet, and all that in higher layers. This stack at the base, you're going to have the most value. The digital gold is going to be at the base, which is the most secure and valuable layer. And that's where ETC is going to be. So that's another fundamental reason that hasn't changed. It's important to note that I had anticipated that Ethereum Classic was going to be the largest proof of work smart contracts blockchain in the world when Ethereum moved to proof of stake, and that happened. When Ethereum moved to proof of stake in September of 2022, ETC automatically went up in value. The hash rate of miners, more miners, etc., multiplied by 5, and now it's the largest proof of work smart contracts blockchain in the world, and it's absolutely state-of-the-art technology. Any innovation in the industry of smart contracts and the EVM standard, any technology innovation, ETC incorporates into the system. It's false that ETC is a static blockchain. It's state of the art, always has the latest technology, always. The motto of code is law means that the accounts, balances, and the dApps are law, and code is law, and those are immutable. But the features and the software of the blockchain and the EVM and how it works, etc., it's constantly upgraded with the latest technology. It's important to note another fundamental reason why ETC is so valuable is that, say that you have the base layer and you have, for example, Bitcoin is the largest one, then ETC is more or less 50% the value of Bitcoin, and then Monero is the third one, which is 50% of the value of ETC. That's the typical distribution in competitive industries because of power law and economies of scale. You always have a big one, and then the second one tends to be around 50% market share, and then 50%, and then all the rest are just tiny that nobody cares about. But say that we have Bitcoin, ETC, the second one, and Monero, the third one, and that's the base layer of the blockchain industry stack. Of those three, the only programmable is Ethereum Classic, and that is extremely important because this means that in Bitcoin, for example, to use a decentralized application or an application, it has to run in some other system. It cannot go inside Bitcoin. It has to go in either in Ethereum or Binance Chain, or in AWS or Google Cloud in a centralized system. There's no way of having applications inside Bitcoin. That's where the security is, inside Bitcoin, not outside Bitcoin. Any connection of anything outside of Bitcoin is insecure, is orders of magnitude more insecure. So once you need to have the application outside of Bitcoin, the security of Bitcoin is lost. and that application is not that valuable in that sense. But when in Ethereum Classic, because it's programmable, the application can be inside Ethereum Classic, being a truly decentralized and trust minimized application. So everybody in the world could use Ethereum Classic with the applications inside Ethereum Classic, provided that they pay the fees, because fees are going to be high, like Ethereum today. But as long as the application is inside Ethereum Classic, within the money, the application and the money and the digital gold inside Ethereum Classic, that's the most secure setup in the world that will ever exist. There's no way that applications outside of the blockchain are going to be equally secure, or that setup is going to be equally secure. But in ETC, it is possible. The applications can be inside ETC. And this is why ETC is so valuable and more trust minimized than Bitcoin and Monero and Litecoin, because it's programmable and the others are not. And then the last fundamental reason is because of these reasons, because Ethereum Classic is so truly decentralized, because it's digital gold, proof of work, and it's programmable, and the applications can be inside Ethereum Classic. This is going to be an incredible refuge for the world, for anybody who wants to escape what's coming to the world. What's coming to the world is globalization, a centralized world government. We're going to have a few elites through a few global entities like the WHO, the UN, the European Central Bank, the European Union, the United States government, etc. These entities are already managed by elites, and these elites, they all get together in the World Economic Forum, and they're planning a totally centralized world for the future, using artificial intelligence, leveraging the tech companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, and all the global tech companies, etc. And all together with AI, they're going to create technologies. They're already creating them, like central bank digital currencies, digital passports, all sorts of machine learning agents like chat GPT, etc. that they're going to almost automate everything around the world. And basically they're going to control all, like PayPal, they're going to control all of our payment systems. And whatever policies, global policies they have, for example, with climate change, with a future virus like COVID, but a future virus pandemic that they create to control us, and any other policy that they may have, because they want to move all the cars to electricity, from gas to electricity, and they don't want us to eat meat, and they want us to eat insects. They're going to control us through these technologies, through artificial intelligence, the digital passport, our wallets in our phones, and the central bank digital currencies. They're going to control us because they're going to put expiration dates on our money, so we have to compulsively spend it. They're going to set what quotas we can eat of beef, for example. They're already saying that we can only eat 300 grams of beef per week. In the future, it's going to be 0. They're going to force us to eat plants because they want us to eat plants. They're going to force us. Our cars are going to be electric, and they're going, if we had a gas car or something like that, we go and buy gas, it's going to be canceled. Our app is not going to be able to do the purchase, because the global elite or this globalized government is going to, through our digital passport, say, no, your quota of gas is complete, so you cannot use more gas for this month or something like that. And of course, they're going to control our radius where we can move it. If there's a pandemic, they're going to control if we took the vaccine. They're going to control if we can move outside of our homes, etc. So in this, most horrible world that is coming, but because the technologies are there and they're already planning it, and all the elitist governments in the world, of the superpowers of the world, are agreeing on this. In China, it's already implemented, for example. We're going to have this kind of world. And Ethereum Classic and Bitcoin are exactly the opposite, the opposing technologies. They are impossible to control by these elites. It doesn't matter how much computing power they have. It is impossible For example, today, proof of work mining and crypto in mainland China, mainland China is prohibited, but there's a lot of mining of ETC happening in China, and a lot of like 22% of the mining of Bitcoin is happening in China. Why? Because these are free technologies. The governments cannot control them. You can go clandestine places, put a generator and start mining Bitcoin and ETC, whatever you want. In ETC, for example, the largest dApp developer in ETC, even in China, even if it's prohibited, they are in China. That's how permission they can run a node and nobody can control them, because they can go and in clandestine ways they can connect their node and they can send their dApps and keep it's called Heavy Block, and they have amazing decentralized applications on ETC, and they have a roadmap which is amazing, and they're operating from a place where their activity is prohibited. It's amazing. And this is the freedom that Ethereum Classic brings to the world, and on top of that, it's programmable. The second fundamental reason or section is that the Bitcoin halving is happening in March, April of 2020. I say March, April because it's very difficult to know exactly. Depends on the block times. But it's going to happen in March, April of 2024. Say from March to May. In that time period, the Bitcoin halving is going to happen. And in the same period, the ETC fifthening, which is a discount of 20%, is going to happen as well. So Bitcoin, you have it here. These are my projections, are using the Bitcoin halvings. It's going to happen in 2024, and also ETC. And in Bitcoin is the next one is going to be in 2028. In ETC, in the meantime, it's going to happen in 2024, 2026, and in 2028. And then Bitcoin is going to be 2032, and ETC is going to be 2030, and 2032. So Bitcoin, every 4 years, they discount by 1/2 the payment to miners every block, and ETC every 2 years they discount by 1/5. That's why they're called the halving and the fifthening. And Bitcoin is going to discount from 6.25 BTC per block now to 3.125. And the inflation is going to go down from 184% annually now, the Bitcoin inflation, to 0.92%. So Bitcoin is going to be hyper hard money, harder than gold. Gold is 1.7%, the inflation rate per year. In the case of ETC, it's going down, the payment, now it's paying 2.56 ETC per block every 13 seconds, and it's going down by 20% to 2.048, and the inflation of ETC is going to go down from 4.83% annually to 3.87%. So Bitcoin's inflation is down here, and ETC is a little bit higher, but ETC is accelerating its discount, and is going to catch up with Bitcoin in the next 10 to 20 years. It's going to have a similarly, almost below 2% inflation in the next 10 years or 15 years. So that's the Bitcoin halving and the big ETC fifthening. Then the third section is the macro situation in the world. For some reason, there's crazy people in our elites, and they have captured our governments now in North America, Canada, United States, in Europe, Western Europe, European Union is captured by these elites, and Japan and other countries, Australia, etc. These nations of the superpowers, they have elites. They have captured their governments, the central banks, even the philosophies, the woke philosophies of the UN and the WHO and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. All these institutions are all operating with the same philosophy, which is a woke philosophy that is wrong in many things. And they all coordinate through the World Economic Forum. So it's catastrophic what is happening. And they have the technologies to implement all their ideas. And they are indeed already implementing them, like censorship and all the things that I said before. And one of those things is that they believe that they can print money because they have the global reserve with the US dollar, and then with the euro in a secondary place, and the British pound in the tertiary place, and then the Japanese yen in a fourth place. They can control the money printing of the world, and they can print whatever money they wish. And if there's inflation, they just raise rates, and they lower inflation whenever they wish, and they raise taxes to whichever sector they wish to control the economy. And this is crazy talk, crazy thinking, because we know, especially people like me that come from emerging markets, we know that in banana republics and in the third world, once you start printing money, it's impossible to lower inflation for several reasons, for political reasons, but also for technical reasons. Because because these countries, what happens is that they generate, the United States, for example, the fiscal deficit is enormous. It's in the trillions of dollars per year, and that inflates the debt. The United States increased the debt from $23 trillion to $32 trillion to $31.5 trillion in the last, since 2020, in 2.5 years. It's crazy how they increase the debt, and they think that it's perfectly fine, that they can have whatever debt they want because they can always print money to pay it, which is crazy thinking. Because once you have that level of deficit, just the interest at 5% is like $1.5 or $1.7 trillion per year, and that already puts you in a permanent chronic deficit. Therefore, you have to chronically print money all the time just to pay your debt, and that generates inflation. And when you have inflation and you think that you're going to reduce it by raising rates and raising taxes, you're going to generate a crash, an economic crash, and it's going to be so severe that you're going to have to lower rates and lower taxes again. So you have a deficit that has you stuck printing money, and you have a level of inflation that is going to be high, and you cannot raise rates and you cannot raise taxes, because the economy doesn't have the capacity to pay those rates and those taxes, and they're going to have to lower them, exacerbating the deficit and exacerbating the inflation, the printing. No, it's crazy why these people, who told them that unlimited printing money and unlimited debt is possible, who told them and who brainwashed them to think this. I think it's purposeful, and it's a destructive philosophy, because they really wish to destroy Western culture, which is Christian Western culture or Judeo-Christian Western culture. They don't like our ethics, Christian ethics. They don't like our way of thinking. They believe in centralization. We believe in individual rights. They believe in a whole hoax of woke ideas, which are crazy. We don't believe in them. We believe that they're sin. We believe in morality. They don't believe in morality. They think that morality doesn't exist. So they want to destroy us. They want to destroy Western culture, and this is why they're printing money and doing it, because logically it doesn't make any sense. So that's a macro situation. They're just printing money for whatever the reason. They're doing it, and they're going to continue printing money, and they're stuck. The only way to solve this is to default and to discount the debt and say we're not going to pay, 50 or 70% of our debt, of our $31.5 trillion. We're not going to pay half, and sorry, but we screwed up. From now on, we're going to be responsible. We're going to not print money anymore. We're going to have a controlled monetary base. We're going to control deficit or balance the deficit, and we are going to default on our debt and pay only 1/2. The rest, forget it. We're not going to pay it. If that happens, it's going to be such a global crisis that they're going to have to print money again. So this is why I say governments always prefer to print money and to create inflation rather than create a crisis or a depression or something like that, because they would have a revolt and they would hang them eventually. So they're always going to print money. They're stuck in this, and there's no way out. At this point, there's no way out. Believe me, there's no way out, and this is why Bitcoin, Ethereum Classic, our digital gold, They have fixed monetary policies, a cap of 21 million in the case of Bitcoin, a cap of 210 million in the case of ETC. They're true decentralized blockchains, impossible to control by these crazy lunatics who are our elites that control us through the World Economic Forum. And everybody's going to escape to these currencies because it's the only way. That's why I say it's a refuge. And it's a refuge because people are going to be able to have digital gold, escape all this craziness, and also have applications inside ETC. Okay, so I spoke about the money printing, and that philosophy is crazy. Just as an idea, the United States had $4 trillion of base money in 2020 and now has nearly $9 trillion in only 2.5 years. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. I cannot believe it. And M2, which is money, a higher layer of money, which is money in bank deposits, plus the base money, it was $15 trillion and now it's $21 trillion, M2. And they cannot lower it. They cannot raise rates more. If they raise rates, it's going to be not much more. Because they're going to generate a crisis. The banks, for example, are already broke because by raising rates from 0 to 5% up to now, bond prices, long bonds, the 10-year bond, 30-year bonds, etc., they went down in price, and the government makes the banks buy those bonds to finance the government, and all the banks are broke now. Many banks are broke, and that's why we have every week there's a small bank going broke, because what they want now is for the people move from the small banks to the big banks, which creates more centralization and more control, and it's even more beneficial to the World Economic Forum and the elites. So expect more banking crisis. This is not going to stop. We are now in a temporary impasse. Okay, so I spoke about the macro. I spoke about the Bitcoin and ETC halving and fifthening. I spoke about why ETC is so valuable, its fundamentals. Now let's talk about the price projections. The first section that is gray is everything that already happened. So in 2013, the Bitcoin peak price was 1,250. This was the market cap. This is the value of gold. This line here is the value of gold in 2013. How much it was worth in 2017, how much it was worth in 2021, $12 trillion. Note, this is the effects of inflation. And these are projections using this inflation, projected inflation, 5% now, and I'm being extremely conservative, saying that it's going to be 2.5% in the next 4 years, and only 2% in the next 4 years. So from now until 2024, it's going to be 5%. That's the projection I'm using. I'm sure it's going to be much higher than this, but to be conservative, 5% from now until 2024. From there to 2028, 4 years, 2.5%, which is going to be much higher, but let's use this conservative estimate. And say that for some magic reason they managed to control inflation and it's 2% between 2028 and 2032. So let's use this very conservative projection for inflation. This means that gold, if it keeps up its price with inflation, by 2024 it's going to be $14 trillion. By 2028 it's going to be $15.5 trillion, the whole market cap of gold globally. And by 2032, with these low levels of inflation, gold is going to reach nearly $17 trillion. Perfect. So we have this hard asset, how it's going, a projection of that. And Bitcoin is going to slowly go replacing gold, or increasing its value share compared to gold. Eventually gold is going to go down, but say that for now, gold is going to go up at least at the rate of inflation. And Bitcoin, the peak of Bitcoin was in 2013, 1250, and it was only 0.24% of the value of gold at the time. In 2017, Bitcoin's peak price was 20,000, and at that time it reached 5.5% of the value of gold. So it went up a little higher. and it reached a share of 5%, 5.5% of gold. In 2021, it peaked at 69,000, and it went even higher. It reached a share of gold of 11%. And Bitcoin is going to eventually replace gold. So my projections are that from now until next year, I think that easily, because of the halving, and there's going to be a rally, and because of the money printing and inflation, all that, I think that Bitcoin is going to reach 25% of the value of gold by 2024. At some point in 2024, there's going to be another hyper rally in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is going to go to $180,000 approximately, $178,000 per Bitcoin, which is a very low value. Bitcoin is going to be worth millions of dollars in the future. This is still a very good low value. When Bitcoin reaches this value, it's going to be 25% of the market cap of gold. This is in 2024. This is sometime in 2024, and it's going to be worth $3.5 trillion. And with a supply projected at that time, when it does the halving of 19,687,500 Bitcoins, it's going to be $178,000. So with this logic, I project Bitcoin is going to continue increasing its share compared to gold, and it's going to be 50% of the value of gold at the time. And because gold is going to be at this value of $15.5 trillion, Bitcoin at the time in 2028, we're talking about 5 years from now, it's going to be $7.75 trillion. And because the supply of Bitcoin at the time, where it's going to keep printing money, Bitcoins every block, it's going to be 20,343,750. So this market cap divided by this supply is going to give us $381,000 per Bitcoin. I think this is very conservative, but let's keep it conservative. So this is the projected price of Bitcoin for 2028 by me, 381,000. And with the same logic, the market cap of gold is going to be nearly $17 trillion. But at that time, I think that in 9 years, for sure, Bitcoin is going to be 100% of the value of gold. It's going to be therefore nearly $17 trillion. The Bitcoin network is going to be worth nearly $17 trillion, in my opinion, by 2032. And with this supply, by that time, it's going to be $812,000 per Bitcoin. So this is the logic. You have the gold, its main driver, which is inflated by inflation. No, the price is inflated by the projections of inflation, fiat inflation. And if Bitcoin reaches these, this is what already happened in reality, and this is what I think is going to happen. If Bitcoin reaches these shares of gold, then these are going to be the prices of Bitcoin: 178,000, 381,000, 812,000. Now, ETC is the same logic, but instead of being relative to gold, it's relative to Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin projections are based on the price of gold, projected price of gold. In the case of ETC, I think that ETC is going to eventually be 50% of the value of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin is here, ETC is going to be 50% of the market cap of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is going to be the same as gold. So in the end, ETC is also going to be digital gold. But this projection is done with regards to Bitcoin. So this is the truth, what happened in the past. In 2017, the peak price of ETC was 48. This was the supply, and this was the market cap. So it reached a 1.42% of the market cap of Bitcoin. This market cap of Ethereum Classic compared to this market capitalization of Bitcoin in 2017 was 1.42%. So ETC was tiny compared to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was also in the past tiny compared to gold. So this was what already happened these are real numbers of 2017. In 2021, these are also real numbers. The peak price of ETC was 180, and that was $24 billion of market cap at the time, with the supply of that time, and that was compared to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was at 69,000, it was 1.86%, a little bit higher than before, of the share of Bitcoin. So even at 180, ETC was still tiny, but growing in terms of share compared to Bitcoin. Now, my future projections are that by the fifthening and the halving in the next year, in 2024, that ETC is going to increase its share to Bitcoin, because people are going to realize that proof of stake is centralized, it's not worth it, and it's going to be censored, it's going to be prohibited in many places, it's going to be declared as security. This is going to happen in time. You have to be patient. That people are going to realize that proof of stake was in the end a total sham and a total hoax, because it's exactly the same as having your systems in cloud services, and people are going to say cloud services are much more efficient than blockchains, than these proof of stake blockchains that are centralized. So I think that ETC is going to grow in value to a 5% share of Bitcoin at the time. That is going to be nearly $176 billion in market cap, divided by the supply by 2024. Is going to be a price projection of ETC by 2024 of $1,192 or 1,200. That is going to be the round number, 1,200. So my previous projection for ETC had been 1,000, but mainly because of inflation, because of the higher inflation, and gold jumped in value because of inflation, it's going to be 1,200 instead of 1,000. So now my projection for ETC is not 1,000 anymore, it's 1,200 in the short term. That is in the next 12 to 18 months, from now until the end of 2024. I continue the projection. So ETC by 2028, everybody's going to realize that ETC proof of work, the dApps inside ETC and all that are going to be extremely valuable. Proof of work is going to be already known to be the real true blockchain and the real true decentralized system. And for all these reasons, a lot of the world population will want to buy ETC and Bitcoin. So ETC is going to be 25% of the value of Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin is 50% of the value of gold, in turn, ETC is going to be 25% of the value of Bitcoin. This means that ETC at the time is going to be worth $1.9 trillion divided by the supply at the time. So this is already including all the printed new ETC that are going to exist in the future. So with the supply at the time, it's going to be worth $12,300 by 2028. This is my official personal projection of the ETC price by 2028. Before it was 8,900 or something like that, but again, this is inflation. And then by 2032, ETC is going to reach maturity. It's going to be 50% of the value of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be mature as well. It's going to be the market cap of gold. They're both going to continue going up, but at the time in 2032, I think that ETC is going to finally be declared as the winner of smart contracts, the base layer of the blockchain industry, totally proven secure system, always state of the art and updated in terms of the EVM technology. All the best technologies are going to be integrated into ETC, and by that time the supply is going to be 165,950,000, and with this market cap, which is 50% of Bitcoin, it's an implicit price of 50,609, which I'm convinced that is going to reach there. Once it reaches 1,000, from 1,000 to 12,000 is going to be nothing, because from the current price of $20 to 1,000, it's like 50 times, no? to 1,200 is 60 times. So from now to 1,200 or 1,000 is a lot of work now, because it has to go up 60 times. But from 1,200 to 12,000 is going to be only 10 times. So it's much easier to reach that level. And from 12,300 to 50,000 is going to be 3.5 times. So it's always easier to get to those higher prices. These higher prices look big, but they're not big relative to the curve, to the same curve. The biggest hurdle is going to be from now to next year to pass 1,000. And I think it's going to go to 1,200. And from then on, it's just going to be history, just going to continue plowing through with no problem, because we're not going to have this noise of the proof of stake liars saying the proof of stake is final and has finality, and the proof of work does not have finality. It's a total lie. Proof of work has much higher finality than proof of stake. Proof of stake is not final, I would say, because if you have a block that they say that it's final because they have some rule in the system, in the algorithm, but they can change it whenever they wish, and it's not even legal finality. In the case of proof of work, it's physical finality. It's impossible to change. There's no way to change a proof of work. Once you have many blocks that pass through, to go to the past and change that transaction is impossible. So it doesn't matter if it's legal, if it's in the algorithm, if it's not in the algorithm, if the community is virtuous like the Ethereum community, it doesn't matter. In proof of work, you cannot change it. It's physically impossible. This is finality, not that the algorithm says that this block is final. That is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's a lie that they are perpetuating, and it's dishonest. It's absolutely, it's more or less like the elites that are saying that printing money is, you can print money whatever you want. It's dishonest. It's a lie. It's destructive. And the same thing is what the people at the proof of stake blockchains are doing. So these are my price projections. By 2024, 1,192 or 1,200 for ETC, 180,000 for Bitcoin. 2028, $12,000 for ETC, $380,000 for Bitcoin. In 2032, $50,000 for ETC, and $810,000 for Bitcoin. Thank you very much.